There's a number of reasons I love using an 1100, especially on an automated system. But today I'm going to show you how I use it to expand the necks on my 6.5 PRC up to 7mm for my 7PRCW cartridge. Let's go have some fun. What exactly are we doing? Well, what we are going to do is we are going to take our 6.5 PRC brass here, and we are actually going to neck it up to 7mm, and that is going to give us the basis for our 7PRCW cartridge, because it's essentially just a 6.5 PRC necked up to 7mm. So what are the steps involved? Well, we need to expand the neck using an expander mandrel. And then I want to go ahead and prime, because honestly, that's all I'm going to do to this. I'm going to expand it up, I'm going to prime it, and I'm going to go shoot it. And then after that, it will be fully fire formed, and then I can actually resize it and keep loading. But this is a time-consuming process, because I typically do 500 or 1,000, depends on the brass that I have, at a time, and that's how I work in batches. So to do this by hand, especially because it does take a fair amount of force to go from 6.5 up to 7. Now, some people will use a step mandrel. They'll take maybe they'll go from 6.5, and then they'll come up about halfway with some mandrels, and then they'll take it the rest of the way. And it really just depends how you want to do it. You do need to make sure that you lube inside the neck, or else you do risk splitting the necks or crushing the actual neck all the way into the shoulder. I've done both of them, and plenty of people have. So you just have to make sure that you're lubing properly. Now, when it comes to lubing, what do? Well, I've got myself some sizing wax, whether you use Imperial, this is Creedmoor, there's a bunch of other ones out there, but I do find that using actual sizing wax works the best for me. Now, I've tried using Hornady One Shot. It doesn't work great for expanding necks compared to the wax, because you're moving a lot of metal. I've tried other lubes, oils, things like that. And at the end of the day, for me, some kind of a sizing wax honestly works the best. And what I want to do is I want to take the sizing wax here, right? And I'm going to go ahead and take one of these. It's sort of a foam tip mop. They're made for cosmetic applications, and they will last, gosh, probably, I don't know. Well, let's put it this way. If I use a regular just cotton swab, I get about 5 pieces of brass before it starts turning into a giant cotton ball. I can get 50 to 100 out of one of these foam tip, and I'll put a link in the description below if you want to order some of these, but I love these things and they work great. So I'm just going to put a little bit of the sizing wax on here. Now, when I do the inside of the neck, some people will take the swab and they'll kind of roll it around inside. What I prefer to do is I just put it inside the neck, and I roll the brass around it. So I'm just going to roll it, and I feel like that does the best for me when it comes to just applying this sizing lube. So again, I'm just going to put it in here, and I'm just going to kind of roll it, and I'm going to roll it, and then I'm going to roll it. And that's all I need. It doesn't need to be a lot. It doesn't need to be like a massive cake up. And if you want to go back and just make sure you've got it, that's fine. But I just like rolling it, and I feel like that gives it a really nice coating inside of the neck. Now you can see here, I've already got some brass set up. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to get this thing started. I'm going to drop these in as I get the necks lubed, and we're just going to let them run. Something about the 1100 that I do is I've got 2 different set of bins here. So I have a collection bin for dirty brass. This would be after it's sized and it's got sizing lube and it's messy. And then I have a clean bin, and this is going to be for my other processes where I don't necessarily want to have all the case lube building up inside of here and getting on clean brass after it's gone through a tumbler. But in this case, this is brand new virgin brass, so it is going to go in the clean bin as well. Some people might ask, well, what do you do about the lube that's inside the neck? Because I'm priming, that means that I'm not going to be able to throw it in a tumbler easily or do any of that kind of stuff. Honestly, I'm just going to leave the sizing lube on there. I am running a brush die, and I'll show you here because it's sort of hidden behind the brass right now. But I have, this is a Cortina brush die, and I have inside of it one of my IOSO brushes, and you can see here that it just runs down inside the neck. So even if there is some lube, this is going to take off some of the lube And if there is any buildup in weird places, it's going to spread it out. And for me, shooting virgin brass like that, I get really good results. And because there is no carbon buildup in there yet, the lube that is in there is going to help just seat the bullet a little bit against that bare brass that's in there. There's just nothing to help with any kind of lubricity. The only thing I'm going to do afterwards is I will run it through my Henderson, because I do want to trim and chamfer it, because I do want a nice bevel on the inside, and I also want to change my overall length a little bit. I want to take about, I think it's about 14 thousandths off my overall length. But that way the bullets are going to seat nice. They're going to go in just like they would on a reloaded piece of brass, and I'm going to get really good results from it. And so we're just going to get this thing fired up here. I'm going to start running it. I've got 500 pieces of brass to do today. I might do another 500 tomorrow, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to show you the 500 that I'm doing. I am going to keep them in their individual boxes. So this is 500 of one lot number, and that's why I'm keeping them together, but I am still going to keep them in their boxes of 100, and that'll translate to my ammo boxes of 100, and I just like doing my brass prep that way. So once I've run these 100 through and they're here, they're going to get dumped back in this box, and then I'll just keep working through it. I do have my primer set up, so it's going to be priming at the same time, and that doesn't pose any problems whatsoever, because I'm going to be priming in one stage. The 1100 is going to bring it around, then it's going to go up onto the expander mandrel, it's going to open it up, then it'll come around, it'll hit that brush that we talked about, and then we're done. This is saving me multiple steps, and while I'm doing this, I'm actually going to be working on my 750, because I decommissioned this one from the automatic setup. It is now going to be a dedicated bullet pointing press, but I just have to move a couple parts around. But again, that's where having an automated press like this is absolute gold. I can be working here, doing 3 different steps: priming, expanding, and running the brush through it. So it's not only keeping me from having to pull the handle 3 times as much, it's doing it all in one pass, while I do some other work and can still monitor what's going on in case there's any kind of problems. So let's go ahead and get it started, and we will start expanding. I've gone ahead and stopped it for a minute because it's been running. I did put in the last of that first 100 pieces of brass, but I just wanted to show you why I love these cotton swabs so much compared to these foam swabs compared to the cotton swabs. But you can see here, there's almost no difference between the used one here and a brand new one. It gets stretched out a little bit, and sure, it's a little bit dirty, but that's 100 pieces of brass that I was able to do, and there was no way you would get even remotely close with probably even 10 cotton swabs. You wouldn't make it through 100, because they ball up really badly. So I'm going to try to see if I can get any more out of this. I usually will swap them out. These are really cheap to buy in bulk, but if I can get another 100 out of this one, then great. And then we're going to just let this thing keep running. And then we're just going to do the next 100, the next 100, the next 100. Once I get near the end, I'll show you kind of how I have everything organized. But it's just a really good example of why having the right press to do the right job is really important to me. Now, not everybody wants an automated system. Some people really like pulling a handle for every single job. I've done it in the past. I understand the attraction, but for me right now, time is more important. So we're going to turn this back on. We're going to get it running again, and we're going to finish out the 500 pieces of brass that we have. The last 100 just finished here. So we are now ready to go. So what do we have? Well, we have primed, we have the neck expanded. All we have to do is go ahead and head over to, again, my trimmer, and just get these nice and trimmed back a bit with a chamfer and deburr on them, and then they will be all ready to go. Now, interesting thing, although I don't know if I saved it, but the the foam swabs that I had been talking about, I actually ended up using 2 of them for all 500 pieces of brass. I threw one away after about 200 rounds because I thought it was looking a little ratty, and then ended up getting 300 rounds out of the next one. So you think about it, that is a lot of use out of basically 2 little foam applicators for 500 pieces of brass. And that's why I get them to last a very long time. In fact, I've had this pack, I think I bought a 100 pack probably close to 3 years ago. So, I mean, they last a good long time. I don't use them for a lot of things, but they are nice for getting into some little areas for cleaning and obviously for doing this kind of work. What are the other things that we're looking for when we do this? Well, we want to make sure that we go through the brass and inspect it. I'll do that as I'm trimming it because that'll give me a chance to handle all of it. But I do want to make sure that there's nothing weird going on with any of the necks. Make sure none of them, you know, accidentally split or have any kind of weird deformation in them. And obviously I want to make sure that everything got primed, but I would do that when I'm regularly reloading anyway. The bottom line is it just gives me a ton of flexibility to do other things. I did end up in the middle of it prepping a couple hundred real quick, and then while I was running those, I did get my 750 parts replaced that were down here. All I have to do is anchor that down and then I'll be good to go. But the 1100 is still proving that it is well worth it for me. When it comes to actual reloading, I'll just give you a couple little numbers here. I just did 100 pieces of brass the other day, went out and shot them all. I had somebody with me that was shooting, but he shot half of them, and then I shot 50 rounds. 50 rounds had an SD of right about, it was right in the high 3s, 3.8, 3.9 if I remember right. And the ES was right around 13 or 14 for all 50 rounds. So I'm very confident in the process using a machine like this. That's priming on this machine. I have 0 issues priming on it. In fact, I actually like priming on this a lot better than I do on my old 750 because of the way that rocker mechanism works. It's really solid and it gives you a really good adjustment on it. And I'll do another video here in the near future showing you how I set up the priming system and the quality that I'm getting out of it. But when I am loading, it's going to be a little bit less on new brass just because I haven't uniformed the primer pockets yet. I'll do that on the next one after I fire them one time. But after I uniform the pockets, I'm getting right at about 1/1000th total variance. I know some people just don't believe that's possible on a machine like this, but I do get it on a regular basis now. And I was getting about 1.5, give or take, on my 750, which again was more than what I needed for that. But I do like that I'm able to control it better and get even tighter tolerances here. So with that, I hope you at least had some fun watching how I expand necks on my machine. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments below. As always, my goal here is just to help everybody find a way to make their reloading a little bit easier, more fun, more productive, and ultimately so they can get out to the range and have some fun. We'll talk later. Have a good one.